Welcome to part 3 of our series. Who am I? Can you imagine? You are the most important thing in your life. And from kindergarten, from home, up to university, even people with PhDs, all the exams you have done in life, no one, most likely, no one has ever given you an exam or a question and asked you to explore to the depth the question, who are you? Who am I? Because the value that you have to give to society is in you. Now, if you are not aware of it fully, you will not give it. And because you are not aware of it fully and you are not giving it, then you are not going to get. Because that is the equation of life. In order to get for yourself, you must give of yourself. The value that you give determines the value that you get. Now, if in the first place you are not aware of the value that you can give, how will you give it? So the story begins with self-discovery, self-awareness. And we have tools and processes, that can help you to do this. Actually, when you read this book, I have a whole section on that, self-discovery and self-mastery. So then self-discovery is one aspect, but then also discovering your environment. What is around me? What are the economic processes? What are the businesses around here? What are the social trends? What's happening in society, culturally? What's happening politically? What is happening in the world? Where is technology heading? Where is agriculture going? What about transport? And all of these things. So the first step is for you to understand your environment. Now, when you have, and this is a lifelong thing, that's why exposure is the ultimate thing. Can you imagine people choose courses without even knowing that what do you do with what you have learned in this course? They have no full awareness. People will take a combination of PCB, and if you ask them to list for you how many options they have at university or beyond secondary school, because there are also other tertiary institutions apart from universities. If you ask them, someone cannot list beyond 7 options. But I'll tell you, if you have studied PCB, you have more than 100 options. But because you are not aware of them, then you easily get stuck. And some of those options will even require you to just go after, for example, A level, to just go and study for 3 months, and you begin developing a career. But because of our ignorance. So the first step is to understand before you choose a program. And this is why I say we are miseducating people, and people have been miseducated because we lead them into choosing courses in the dark. So then the second step now is to identify suitable areas of opportunity for you. What does that mean? I begin identifying specific gaps. For example, when you go to the market, you could go to the market just to understand, where do these watermelons come from? The watermelons they bring in Nakasero market or whichever market in your locality. I see all these lorries. I'll give you an example. Today in Kampala, if you go Chisenyi side, there is a whole pack of lorries, and they all have one thing in common. They are in their tens. They have one thing in common. They have Kenyan number plates. Now, if you're a Ugandan young person who is interested in understanding your environment in order to be able to identify gaps and opportunities, you would be curious and ask yourself the question, how is it? What do they bring? And when they're going back, do they go back with anything? I'm just giving you that example. So you look at value chain of, for example, you look at carrots. You go to Nakasero market. You see lorries full of carrots, and they have Kenyan number plates. What does that mean? So for a curious young person, you will be interested in finding out what is the value chain of these carrots? Where are they grown? What is the transportation like? What are the taxation details involved? Who consumes all these carrots? What do they do with them? But then what can you do with carrots? Now, when you begin asking yourself these questions, you will understand that, oh, what you have to learn is not limited in the classroom. There is more to learn outside of the classroom than in the classroom, and that will translate into your career strategy because it will inform. So the second step here, remember, is about you now. Yes, the first step, you have looked around you. Now, the second step is that you look keenly because your interest is to begin identifying gaps. So these people, now let me give an example of a gap. These people who bring the carrots, do they actually have to come to Uganda physically? Is there a mobile app, for example, or a web-based app that I can design to bridge some gaps in there? But I cannot think of it if I have not understood the value chain. See, I'm telling you what the school should have intentionally designed in its learning framework and exposed you to, but they haven't done it. So now you take personal responsibility to do that, because if you wait for the system to correct itself, it may cost you a lifetime. Step number 3 in this model, having identified a gap, you now, all the different gaps, you now zero down, you define of all these gaps. Some of them are technological, some of them are social, some of them are economic in nature, some of them require accounting skills. So where do I lie? So which one do I feel, given what I know about myself, given what I see around, the trends, and given all these gaps, for me, I want to be the one who provides psychosocial support to these traders who bring goods and they spend sleepless nights on the streets because they have to wait for customers in the morning. Don't these people need any psychosocial support? How do I develop that? That is step 3 now. You have zeroed down. There are many gaps. Therefore, there are many opportunities that you have seen. And for you, you have highlighted or pointed, identified 1 or 2, which you know, given what you know about yourself, that one. You can strategically position yourself there. That is step 3. Step 4 is now, that is where your course comes in. So you can see, your course should be informed by a strategy that you have already identified, your career strategy. And that career strategy is not based on hope, is not based on wishful thinking, is not based on because I did this very well and qualified for it. No. It is based on what you know about the environment, about the marketplace, about the opportunities, and about yourself, your personal capabilities. So now, step 4 is for you to ask yourself, so what do I need to learn in order to be the person who excels at fixing that problem? That question should be the one to inform the course that you choose. to study. And when you follow that approach, what will you discover? You will realize that, oh, so I may need, let me use the example of the guys who developed the smart jacket. Even those who developed the Matibabu. Matibabu is that mobile app that helps to diagnose malaria without pricking your fingers to take out blood. They just put a laser sensor on your finger, and then in no time it will diagnose whether you have malaria or not. And even the guys who developed the smart jacket that diagnoses pneumonia, same thing. But you know, when you read, when you hear, and these have been widely publicized on international media, CNN, all of those powerful international medias. I think the guy is Trinoburi or something like that. And if you read their story, they will tell you, yes, they were IT students, but they had to go to the medical school and interact with their colleagues there to learn the whole dynamics around malaria. Because you cannot develop an app, a diagnostic technology, if you don't understand, you know, the malaria itself. Even those for pneumonia, that's what they did. So the point I'm making is that once you are clear about what you want to do in the marketplace, the value you want to add to other people so that they also add value to you by paying you, that will tell you what you need to learn. And what you might discover, and what you will most likely discover, is that one course is not going to help you achieve that. There are elements in accounting, for example, that you will need. There are elements in for example, in IT that you will need. There could even be elements in human anatomy that you'll go and fish from there, because for you, the ambition is you want to use your art to become to develop illustrations, digital illustrations for people who work in the health sector. So, now, your art must meet IT. Your art must meet human anatomy, because you have to understand the parts of the human body. And even you go into physiology, because you have to understand how they function together, the whole body functions. So, you go and pick bits of, and you might even need some psychology. So what does that tell you? It tells you that for you now, you are able to define what it is that you will enroll for and study formally, and what are the other elements that you will study informally or non-formally in order to complement what you have, so that you come out as a full package. Full package meaning the person who can deliver exceptional or excellent service or produce exceptional products in the area that you have chosen. So, you see, if you use this model, the course you choose to study is determined by many other things. There are 3 steps before you reach that course. As I said, the education system should have organized that and helped young people systematically to do that. But in the absence of that, don't sacrifice yourself. Do yourself a favor and do it for yourself. It's the path that some of us have taken. And I have seen, I don't have the luxury of time, I've seen many people, many of them well known to me. One of them, I'll say it because it's a public story, Kazire Edward. Many of you hear him speak, you'll think he's a medic. The guy is a chemist. But when he speaks like a medic. That is the power of self-education. Finally, the last step now. Yes, you have decided which course to study. You are studying it. You have studied it. But that is not sufficient. There is one more step. How do you translate these skills and knowledge and the attitudes and the exposure that you have accumulated, how do you translate it into a livelihood? Because one, either you need to use that to be highly employable so that you can secure a job, or to create your own job by creating an enterprise. So the last step is for you now to develop a business or career model. The business model that, okay, having acquired these skills and the knowledge and whatever goes with it, and I know the opportunities there, and I have figured out, I've surrounded this opportunity and I know how to go about it. How am I going to make money out of it sustainably? How am I going to build a career out of it? And if you are so much into social enterprise, how am I going to create sustainable impact in that chosen field? So, my brother, my sister, imagine if you were to use this model, would we have any jobless graduate? Maybe if it would be voluntary, but not involuntary. Because that means everyone would be allocated to where God created them to perform optimally. Because that means everyone would have been sharpened in areas that they have already identified opportunities. Because, after all, you would be well aware of yourself and of your environment. Thank you for listening. In the next video, we'll be delving deeper into this notion of how do I now develop this career strategy. We'll go deeper into that, and of course the conversations that are happening on the channel, I like them already. Let's keep heightening them, and don't forget to like and also to subscribe. Ambrose Kiruka Muchivi is my name, and I look forward to interacting with you in the next video.